In a moment, we're going to meet with the Canadian artist Chris Klein. If you enjoy the video, please subscribe and ring the bell, give it a like, and share the link with your friends. And now today's show. Hi, my name is Allan Gorman. About 10 years ago, I decided to pack it in and become a full-time working artist. Now, not only do I get to do what I love every day, but I've also had the opportunity to show a lot and meet some extraordinary and talented people in my travels. And today I'd like to introduce you to one of them. Andy Warhol once said, in the future, everyone's going to have their 15 minutes of fame. And this show is about giving my friends their 15 minutes. If you'd like to see some of my work, please visit www.allangorman.com. But today's not about me. It's about supporting one of the people I respect and entertaining you. So please join me now for today's episode of Allan Gorman's 15 Minutes of Fame Art TV Show.
My 15 minutes of fame, I want it, my 15 minutes of fame, I want it, my 15 minutes of fame.
Today's guest is Chris Klein. Chris and I met when I co-curated a show at the Nicole Longnecker Gallery in Houston, Texas, and I invited Chris to be in it. It was called Industrialism in the 21st Century. And for some reason, I have no idea why, we kind of hit it off and become friends. We're friends, right, Chris?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, Chris, this is Chris Klein. Chris, we're going to have an interview today. You were born outside of London?
Yes, a North London suburb called Bournemouth.
And you told me that it was near a movie studio?
There is the Elstree Film Studios, which is quite a famous studios, yeah. The original 3 Star Wars were made there, the Indiana Jones.
What I'm getting at is, how did you get into this business of making art?
All my siblings were quite artistic. They all taught me a little about drawing. Drawing was my thing until I was a teenager. I had my first show when I was 17 and sold a painting, which was a fantastic feeling. It was just a show in the city hall, the local city hall, and my dad helped me because he painted as well. Mm-hmm. He wasn't that great an artist. He was just a hobby painter, but he helped to have the show with me to boost my confidence.
So what was the painting of that you sold?
It was a landscape, just quite a minimal, misty scene on a beach. Very foggy. I love fog. You don't have to put much into it, and it gives it lots of atmosphere. You just see gentle waves lapping over the sand. My parents didn't give me lots of encouragement for art. They always would say, you need to get a proper job. So I worked for a long time in management and in the motor trade, as we say in England, the automobile industry. So I was doing that for many years. Always painting as a hobby, having quite a few small shows that I organised myself.
And that was all landscape stuff?
Mainly landscapes, and in the motor trade, I've got more and more contacts in the racing side. Even my neighbour where I worked was an old racing driver, and he used to race with people like Fangio and Sterling Moss. So it was interesting, and I got to know a Le Mans driver, and so I started to paint cars, and I used to get the team to sign the cars from me, all photorealist. So
were your landscapes kind of realistic too?
Yes, I like more the loose abstract look as well, but although I try that, I always end up drifting back to realism. I guess it's just comes naturally to me. So,
well, even the ones that I saw that were in the Nicole Longnecker show have a kind of a abstract compositional flavor to them.
I do like that. I take loads of photos in the salvage yards, and when I start looking through the photos, I can see something going on in the corner, and I like to crop very tight to get a nice composition that looks good. It doesn't have to be recognizable for what it is. It's
Right.
like an abstract feel to it. Yeah,
I think we're similar that way because you know,
I agree. Yeah,
my paintings aren't about the subject matter. I don't really
that's
care.
why I love your work so much. It's very similar. Yeah.
So early on, I understand that you did work at the movie studio. You got a job there.
A friend of mine worked in the film studios at Pinewood, which is kind of very famous.
Pinewood?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's everybody's heard of that. So okay, yeah.
So he was, I think, a stagehand, and he used to encourage me, saying he would try to put my name out there. And he got me an interview with quite a famous and successful head scenic painter who worked on some of the Bond films. I'm trying to think of his name. I should have prepared this. But he got me an interview, so I went to Pinewood, and at that time, him and his team were painting a film called Beyond Rangoon. So I met him on the set, and it was exciting for me because I saw paintings, realist landscape paintings, 50 to 100 feet across, with a team of people painting them. And I'd never really thought of that before, but I thought, wow, I'd love to be a part of something like that.
Well, you can't use a little tiny brush with that, right?
No, you use brooms and mops. And yeah, I took some of my small paintings in this size, realist paintings, and he thought they were fantastic. And he said he'll be able to find me some work on his next film, which was a Bond film, but he never called me. I didn't have his phone number. You know, these people are hard to track down. You can't just walk into the film studios because of security. So I started to try to track him down and see if there's a way of contacting him. And my local film studios at Elstree, I heard there was a scenic painter working there. So I spoke with him, and he said he actually doesn't work for films. He paints for theatre, but he's based in the film studios. But he said he's very busy. Maybe in a few weeks I should contact him and he'll come and meet up with me. But then I felt a hesitation because he was about to put the phone down. And he said, "Are you local?" I said, "Yes." So he said, "Do you want to pop straight over and bring me some work and show me what you're able to do? And we'll take it from there." So I was there within half an hour, I think, showed him some paintings. And he said, "I wanted to see if you a good, competent person to draw, because I need someone for drawing at the moment." So I was working with him the next day on a theatre show for the Royal Opera House called The Merry Widow, designed by Richard Hudson, which is a very famous designer from England. And this show was going out on national television.
Do they work like a traditional realist, where they project the image and then draw it out?
Occasionally you project, but you'd have to suspend the projector from the ceiling, which people do. But generally it's traditional. We grid a small maquette this size, then we put meter square grids on the floor, and it's often
With a grid, like you're gridding out a painting. Yeah.
Then from that you plot all the points, and then you freehand sketch each meter square.
Yeah, it's easier to work in a little box than it is on the whole thing. So do you do that now? You still do that?
Now I don't. I tend to project and sketch out. It's just saves so much time. And I've been gridding for so many years, but once you can get a good projection.
Did you enjoy the scenic painting? Or?
Very much. I was quite passionate about it. In England, I did some very big shows for London's West End. I even did work for Disney that shipped the work over. I worked on some curtains for The Lion King for a few different shows. And I did some other touring shows for Cameron McIntosh. I did some shows for the theatre in New York, Radio City, which is supposed to be the largest theatre stage in the world.
Yeah, it's the largest stage in the world. So how'd you segue into what you're doing now, the costume?
I married a lady from Montreal, and she had 2 children. So we were deciding whether she would live with me in England or I would come to live in Canada. But they weren't very competent, the 2 girls, in English at that time. They were French speakers. So I decided I'm very flexible. I could come and live in Montreal. And the theatre is quite small in Montreal, so that was a bit disappointing. But there's a very big film industry. So as soon as I came over, I contacted a few people, and almost immediately I started painting backdrops for films, which I was pretty competent in doing. And then I worked my way in with some other set designers, head painters, and started to paint on the sets of some quite big Hollywood films. The last production I did was actually a TV pilot, which was a couple of years ago, which still hasn't gone out on television. But that was the last production I worked on for TV or film. And I finished with my theatre 2 years ago at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa, because I needed to paint full time. My career seemed to have exploded recently, and I just got represented by Bernaducci Gallery in New York, and he wanted to give me a solo show.
I mean, would you say these costume paintings came from your gut? What inspired you to do them?
It was when I was the head painter in Stratford in Ontario. Our paint shop, which was a beautiful paint shop, very large space, was right next door to the costume warehouse. And they're fortunate to have one of the largest costume warehouses in Canada. The costumes going back from Roman times to contemporary, there are thousands and thousands to have on 2 levels. So I started taking photographs of them. And when I'm at home looking at the photos, thinking, what can I do with these? I just thought I'll have to paint some of these. I was in my mind thinking 2 or 3 paintings maybe and seeing how it goes. And that has never stopped. And Stratford still dominates what I paint. The large painting you see here, this is from a show at the Stratford Festival and the School for Scandal. They've got an amazing collection, and I think I'd like to keep going back there for quite a few more years yet. Everybody tells me it's something that they've never seen done before. And people have painted costumes hanging, and I see them occasionally over many years, but to specialise in theatrical costumes, and I'm trying to work on some sets from films and television, as well as other collections from fashion. 2 years ago, I was in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, taking photographs of some of their collections. And I also was invited to the Royal Palace's ceremonial collection in Kensington Palace, which was Princess Diana's old palace.
So you're going to give us a behind the scenes of the Queen before she goes?
She was hiding from me. Yeah.
Wow! I just want to see her underwear.
I think I've seen some Victoria's underwear, but
okay. Yeah, Victoria's Secret.
Yes, I've seen it.
So
I did take some photos of Queen Victoria's clothes as well, which is something I might get a chance.
Queen Victoria's clothes was amazing, right? She was quite a fashion plate.
Yeah, in her later years, she always wore black, but when she was younger, some of the things she had, the dresses were incredible, very colourful.
Yeah. What's your your crowning achievement to date? What are you really proud of?
It's difficult to pinpoint exactly which stands out. There's a few. One of them would have been Walt Disney commission last year.
Lion King? Right?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Tom Schumacher came to my show in New York, and we met. And once he saw my show, he told me that he was planning something for the Lion King's 20th anniversary for London. But when he saw my work, it made him get some other ideas. So he said he would be in touch, or his vice president would be in touch with me. So within a few weeks, I started to get emails and main conversations with the Walt Disney team, and that led to a painting which is still one of my favourites of the Lion King costumes.
Well, that's such wild costumes.
Yeah, and they actually placed it on the front cover of the behind-the-scenes brochure, or behind the curtain brochure, for their London anniversary, the 20th anniversary. So that's quite something. But there are other.
Talk about behind the curtain. Do you have do you take process shots of? Do you let people behind the curtain? Let's see them. See what you're doing.
I do take a few in-progress shots, but very few. And it's normally just my wife takes a photo of me posing with a paintbrush against the painting.
I've seen those. They're pretty good, actually.
A couple of times I've taken the little movies of me working on some detail. Normally I don't put them out because I'm thinking, I shouldn't have put that line there, and it will make me look stupid. So,
is there anyone out there that you know of who's kind of in your wheelhouse now?
I sometimes see pieces that make me think it's on similar lines as what I do, but generally these artists do lots of other work as well, and they just do a couple of costume pieces hanging as part of their repertoire. I've never seen anyone specialising in painting costumes, and certainly not specialising in theatre or film, fashion collections.
Yeah, so they're just one-offs. No, nobody's kind of taking it as their signature. Yeah, because this is a signature thing for you. And where do you see it going? What's in the future for that, for this?
Every project I do seems to open more doors for me. So I want to do some more theatre shows, some of the big shows from Broadway and West End. You need a lot of permissions for that. It took me over a year, maybe a year and a half, to get permission to paint some of the Phantom of the Opera. And I had to go to London in the end and meet some of the people who got the copyrights, and some of the team from the RUG, the Really Useful Group, which is Andrew Lloyd Webber's company. And also we checked in with Cameron McIntosh's team as well, just to make sure that everybody is okay with it. The last thing I want to do is tread on someone's toes and have Andrew Lloyd Webber's lawyers trying to sue me. I need to know that everybody's happy with what I do. So I've got some great ideas that I'm planning on, but I'd rather not discuss those, because if I haven't got the permissions, I don't like putting out there. I think it's sort of bad luck.
No, but that okay. And how about do you have any desire to do anything else?
In painting,
Yeah,
I'd like to.
or an art. I mean, you're an artist, so
You know what? I've done some poppy portraits, pop arty kind of portraits, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed painting everything. I love landscapes. I like to do more. I love painting racing cars, and I'd like to do more.
But there's only limited time, right?
Yeah, I'm making a living from painting now. So as there's such a demand for the costumes, and the galleries are now screaming at me because I am fortunate that they've sold them quicker than I've been able to paint them. I've just got a gallery in San Francisco now that's going to show my work. And the painting you see here is going to be shipped out to them next week.
I think that would be a good market for you.
Yeah.
art.
So I haven't got much choice but to paint costumes at the moment, but I really would like to find a bit of spare time and paint other things and even try experimental stuff again. I love to paint abstract and I love textures, but that's
So back to the costume paintings. Off the top of your head, what are your favorite three?
That's impossible to say, Alan.
Well,
always, when I've just finished a painting, almost always, as I've just finished, it's my favourite. So the one behind me, I've just varnished it, and at the moment I keep looking at it, thinking that's my favourite.
well, we'll move aside so we can see a little bit of it. So.
I'll move the camera a little if you want, and they're the costumes from School for Scandal, which is a classic play, 1700s it was written.
Yeah.
So that's from the Stratford Festival again, from their warehouse.
Looks like you're a pretty good photographer. Are those shot in a dark?
No, it's quite a busy background. I just.
So you black out that?
I loosely black it out in Photoshop just to help me visualize, but then when I paint it, I perfect it.
And then what about the lighting and the shadows and the folds and stuff like that? Because that kind of looks natural.
Yeah, that's come from years of experience now. Painting the costumes, it's much more dramatic.
And what's behind you, Chris?
That's another painting from the Phantom of the Opera. That one will soon be complete. And that's the dress worn by Christine for the masquerade. And there's actually two dresses there. But in the dressing room at the Her Majesty's Theatre in London, they've got the two ladies that played that part. Okay, so there's always two of everything. So I laid out both the dresses and took lots of photographs. So that's the two dresses, although you'd only ever see one person wearing it.
Oh, so here's where you get to put in a little plug for yourself. Where can people see your work, and what do you got coming up, and what do you want people to know? And
okay, so
what are you giving away? You giving away any paintings?
Not at the moment, no. I've got two shows opening. One has just opened in Ontario at the Agora Gallery in Stratford. She has a couple of my paintings, my costumes, and some of the salvage arts paintings. And she has one of my Phantom of the Opera paintings. And hopefully, at the beginning of August, the San Francisco Gallery will be opening. That's CK Contemporary. They have a brand new space, and they're going to have my masterpiece here, the large painting. I'll be shipping it next week. I'm just hoping, with the COVID, there's delays in shipping, but I'm hoping that they'll have that at the beginning of August. And I've also got some work in Anthony Brunelli Fine Arts in Binghamton, that's in New York. They have several of my paintings, including a couple of my favorites that you can come and see. My website is chrisklein.com.
And social media?
Social media, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. If you just key in Chris Klein Art, you should be able to find me.
And what do you think the next year is going to hold for you?
There's a chance I might be doing a group show in Taiwan. I'm talking with the gallery, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I'm also talking with a film director about costumes of a very famous designer called Aiko Ishioka. And I'm talking with her widow as well because she passed on. But she won an Oscar for some films, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula film. So I'm really trying to access some of her costumes and create a painting from it, which would be nice. And more than one I'd like. She did some amazing stuff. And also fashion. I'm talking with a couple of other fashion designers about painting some of their costumes.
Well, have any museums acquired your work yet?
Not yet, no. I was going to be in a museum show in Washington, D.C., but that was cancelled because of the virus.
Right.
So I did put out an online show. Also, I did get to one museum collection, although it's a private collection, but I think he's going to put it into a museum. At the moment, it's the largest private collection of costumes in the world. A very important collection. I did one painting initially of one of his costumes, which you actually own, Alan. So that
Oh, right. And yeah, that's a costume. That was we thought it was folk costumes from Russia, but it turned out it was ready to wear from the 20s.
Yes, a rich lady from St. Petersburg.
Right. Actually, it's I love that painting. So one of my prized possessions. So okay. Well, thank you, Chris, for being on 15 Minutes of Fame, and I wish you a lifetime of fame. And
thank you very much. And you too.
Yeah. Well, I wish both of us a lifetime of fame.
Congratulations on your
Before we die, it would be nice to know that somebody out there likes us. So. Thank you very much, and we'll cut this together and be seeing you soon.
Thanks for watching today. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please leave your comments and subscribe, and also sign up for my newsletter at www.allangormanart.com. This way you'll never miss another episode of Allan Gorman's 15 Minutes of Fame Art TV show.